bring in now Jeffrey Bloodworth, who is a political analyst at Gannon University. Jeffrey, you heard from Colton. You were listening to this speech as well, wide-ranging topics, and the U.S. president in particular, it feels like in a speech like this, going off on tangents at certain points too. Migration and clean energy, two of the big topics that touched on the Palestinian statehood and that other countries. What do you make of this, of the tone of the speech and everything that Donald Trump covered? I think we're going to unpack this for a few minutes.
Yeah, it was surely President Trump unplugged. The first quarter felt like a campaign rally speech in which he was touting his accomplishments and denigrating Joe Biden. That struck me as relatively odd for a speech to the United Nations. As core themes against migration and renewable energies, I mean, it does seem to run counter to the reigning consensus in the United Nations. At one point in time, he used even an incorrect term, claiming that 25 million migrants had crossed into the United States during the Biden administration from the southern border. It was very much felt like a campaign speech, hitting on core themes, and I very much doubt that anyone in the audience, representing a particular country, didn't walk away feeling somehow aggrieved or puzzled. I mean, this is most surely the end of the post-war era is over. Mm-hmm. That chapter of the book is closed. We are in a new era in kind of international history. Yeah, the post-World War II era is done. And, Donald Trump in 2016 announced it. In 2025, he confirms it.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. You talk about being aggrieved. At one point, Trump said European countries are going to hell because of migration. And it was, he pointed out certain countries. There were maybe a select few amounts of positive things to say about a couple of people in the room or a couple of countries in the room. But this was criticism right across the board. And, we talked to Colton a little bit earlier, too, about maybe a little bit more of the deference that countries maybe have to give the United States in the leadership role that they play, as opposed to the last time that Trump was at the United Nations and he was laughed at. But, what do you make, too, of all the different countries that were pointed out and the relationships now moving forward, but all of the issues and that Donald Trump really did address, that he believes moving forward with it, with what feels like his new version of world order?
Look, I mean, the last 10 years have affirmed that there is a growing, at least minority consensus in the West, if not a majority consensus in the West, that, Donald Trump and detractors of the world system with mass migration, globalization and free trade, there are some very real popular dissents in the Western world against the post-war order. And Donald Trump very much represents those who are dissenting against the post-World War II era in that regard. And so, I mean, you could look at the 2016 election, I think many did, as, when Trump won, as an aberration. And at this point, I mean, I think what Donald Trump is showing in 2025 is that he has allies in the West. Now, maybe they don't necessarily aren't in government. And, in the case of maybe the government of Hungary, they are in power. But this is a stance in the global order in the West of those who question the post-war order, that, that you can't just dismiss the Trump and Trumpist critiques of it. And so I think this is, Trump's speech is basically saying, we are here. There's a lot of people in the West who support our dissent in elections. And this is something that supporters of the global order are going to have to deal with seriously. And Trump is saying, you're going to have to get along with me personally if you want to have good relations with the United States, which is most certainly a departure from the post-World War II era.
Mm-hmm. Jeffrey Bloodworth, political analyst at Gannon University. Thank you for your time today, sir. Appreciate this.
Okay, thank you.